Hey YouTubers, it's Janina Watkins reading you another excerpt from my book Sonder Lives or Sonder Lives. You choose. This is from part H, excerpt from chapter 11 out of the commencement speech, bringing you right in after Eirene has just left the stairway and Apollo is about to question if he is going to give the speech that he was preparing right before Julian is going to introduce him. So without further ado, here is my excerpt. Apollo is shocked at Eirene's parting words. Eirene leaves moments before he is scheduled to introduce Apollo. Julian then pops in. Are you ready? Allah, you nearly gave me a heart attack. Apollo seems aggravated at Julian, who just stands in front of him, nodding and smiling. Apollo dismisses his irritation. Never mind. Is Eirene going to introduce me? Julian shakes his head. Yeah, no. He throws his tentacles up. That all changed. Eirene told me that since I'm Cassiopeia's number 2, I'll be introducing you. I was a bit nervous at first, but I accepted the duty with full confidence to razzle and dazzle this pre-opening act. Huzzah! I'm not gonna lie, I promised to do my very best. So, what do you say? You want to do this thing? Apollo nods, and Julian dims the lights on the ballroom and increases the illumination on the mezzanine. Julian takes his deep breath, looks at Apollo dead in his face, and whispers, It's showtime. His face lightens up and the biggest smile as he disappears through the curtain. Apollo runs through his speech, omitting most of it, just as Julian finishes up his opening introduction to the audience. Eirene's voice drifts back. You've been reliving this life lesson. Flash. Apollo looks at us three. I knew I was going to speak to her, not from my expectations, but from my enlightenment. He clears his throat. This might have started because of the war within worlds, but peace was only going to come when we ended the war within words. At this time, I wasn't quite sure about my speech, but, he looks at Cassiopeia, I knew she believed in me, and that was enough. Flash. In that instant, Julian announces, and here he is, the most honorable being called to this galaxy, Sir Apollo Eirene. Apollo steps out, and for the first few times, he really looks at Julian and embraces him. This startles Julian, and he inquires, Are you feeling all right? Apollo responds, I am better than ever. And I know I haven't told you this, but you are such a benevolent being, and I am honored to serve with you. Julian doesn't hug him back at first, but feeling inspired by Apollo's words, he reciprocates it rather quickly, causing the audience to collectively awe. Both disengaged, knowing that the mutual feelings are reciprocated as Julian exits and Apollo takes center stage. Apollo begins. Wow, give it up to Julian. He truly inspired me to do better and trust more. I cannot believe I'm here. Only on Mars could an Andromedan arrogantly call themselves the most honorable being called here. I'm not gonna lie, I would have never gotten away with this back in my galaxy. Am I right, Yangs? A low roaring laugh of recognition is heard. I think the UN might have been misinformed when they selected me. They wanted someone who would speak about peace of mind. What I really intended was giving them a piece of my mind. What did they expect? I'm Apollo Eirene. The audience is in hysterics. But seriously, I am really honored to be given the privilege and addressing you all in the celebration of such extraordinary moment in this universal history. We, as Stardust, all traveled on our own journeys to arrive here for one reason, to gather in celebration of our galaxies engaging in a universal act towards peace and unity. Peace and unity through trust amongst worlds. All as I look around this room, I see no group that is more suited to blaze this trail to ensure that this is possible within our path forward. You were all chosen based on actions that you stand for within our universe. You are the symbols of peace in our worlds. But there will never be universal peace and unity without the desire to understand each other's worlds. I admit it. If it weren't for this mayor's experience in preparation to stand here tonight, I would still be living a hypocritical life. I trusted very little, and I lacked any sense of unity. I blocked myself from seeing the equality I share with you all. Being foolish and full of judgment gave me no peace of mind and made my world very lonely. Apollo scans the sea of prana and without intending on finding Cassiopeia, he sees her in everyone present. He sees her poised lips, poised figure, slender tentacles, and smiles in each crest of every eye, over and over again until he falls in love with the entire room. He hears his heart beating, bum bum, bum bum. Apollo releases a sigh of relief. Looking down at his tentacles, emanating a violet aura, he speaks from his heart. Yes, unity and trust are vital for peace, and no two galaxies represent this more transparently than the unconditionally devoted Sir Reginald and Lady Andromeda. We all know the legacy of these two star-crossed beings. We are their bits of stardust that burn eons later. We all know the story, but who dares speak aloud the emotional word evoked so clearly between these two light beings in mixed company? Chatter fills the ballroom in recognition and discomfort of the first opening conversation about an unresolved, unspoken disagreement between these two neighboring galaxies. Apollo's voice causes discontinuation of side conversation. Yins and yangs. There is not one, but two words, lava and leve. It is with clarity I stand now to tell you, I come to honor at this time of peace by ending the physical war within worlds. Now we must resolve the unspoken war within words. Leve and lava. Our conditioning of universal language must now evolve. I recently discovered that Regins disdain us Andromedans for expressing lava, just as much as Andromedas scorn Regins for exuding leve. With clarity, I now see that these two words are not complete opposites, but actually very similar. I know lava allows it to embrace and bond. I now understand leve shows affection by respectively guiding. Both have served us well, so I would like to commemorate this time of unity and trust with the understanding that our words of lava and leve have always been a duality and expressing an emotion that brings us together. They have never divided us. That is what Sir Reginald and Lady Andromeda taught us. The universe is gifting us an opportunity to change our focus. Sticks and stones no longer break our bones, so why let these words hurt us? I am not easy to lava. They think they are so superior, I told myself. How can they leve so much? What makes that so great? I asked myself. All these semantics were in my head, causing me to think lowly of my self-worth. Not until I came to Mars did I begin to pursue my peace of mind. And now that I have found a word that conjoins my two worlds, my word and my world of self-lava is just as much their world of self-leve. I claim this word with a deep intolerance to guide my wildly roaring flow and give new breath that cultivates growth from which the two words become one. In lave. Yes, lave. Lave, it is what I have come to understand as affinity within two different words of worlds. I do not understand the importance of the new word until the conversation that I had with the wise Empress Andromeda, who spoke this message to me. First, lave yourself. Then you'll know what to do. All gaze at Empress Andromeda, who glows with omnipotence as Apollo proceeds. Lave can only be manifested once we first discover it within ourself wholly. I take responsibility for my own welfare. We all have an epistemic responsibility to lave ourself and others. Universal peace is counting on it. A portion of the crowd looks disturbed by Apollo's willingness to admit his imperfections publicly, and him asking them to do the same. The majority admires his willingness to express this, but only a few actually acknowledge his words of inspiration with cheers. Those who cheer begin to shine bright violet. He continues, Lave, our unique experience, it is divine. As sentient lumps of lights in this universe, we chose to take this on, whether we know it or not. As sentients, we must think lowly of ourselves for laving feelings like this. We are meant to pursue our own happiness without loathing. Yes, loathing, loving, hurting, or hindering ourself or others. I'm not perfect in this practice, but I shall prevail in my discovery. And when everyone practices, we will have peace-populated planets. I know this to be possible, and so do you, because it's happening all around us in this room by those providing service, for no other reason than to enjoy doing it as much as you enjoy getting it. Ignorantly, I used to glance over them as if they were mere shadows, not knowing it until this event that these prana are at service, and they are also in occupations and careers that are outside of this. And they choose to be here in their free time. I shine light on these incredible individuals who choose to give themselves freely. There's a noticeable difference between being forced to serve and choosing to be of service. Prana in service are best at serving when they do not feel like servants. As assistants look deeply into Apollo's eyes with gratitude, while all guests see the serving members as more than just servants. Now, I wish to acknowledge to all of you again for the incredible service you've provided out there, but also in here by listening to me. Let's see if I ever get invited back to the UN to give another speech about peace of mind. Laughter rumbles throughout the room. Apollo continues. I hope you honor yourself for your success, no matter what level you are on. From this moment to the next, it's our time for the universe to unite in trust and to trust each other through love, lave, and affinity, because we are all one peaceful mind. No one is greater or lesser. We may come from different galaxies, but we're all just stardust, all from one beautiful universe. I also acknowledge myself, knowing I have become stronger in this universal nation because of all of you. I am honored to know you as my guest because you all reminded me how radiant I am as a maleficent, multifaceted being in this universe. Lastly, I honor Cassiopeia, who was willing to show me how to reflect from my own Sonderlight. My world will never be the same. May we all be as magnificent and willing to give to this universe and for everyone as we ask, and nothing to get in return. Cheers are heard from the violet auras. Apollo lifts his plasma container, and he sees her. Cassiopeia. Tears in her eyes, she magically appears in front of the crystal fountain on the ballroom floor, wearing a white fitted dress with a translucent slip hanging from one shoulder cuff. So simple, yet more radiant than the Empress herself. The room takes notice as they lock eyes. Not a murmur is heard, not a single word uttered. Apollo now understands what Eirene saw in his vision. Cassiopeia indeed marked the end of war within his world, too. He completed this loop lesson. Her Kelly green glow pulsated in sync with her heartbeat. He followed his heart's desire. He chose to be free. I am in love with her, and I just realized it. I could have been lost, and it didn't start until I started following my heart. I have learned my lesson. And for all of those who pursue happiness, I commend you. There is no way of telling what it will look like, but if it's anything like mine, it is to be of service for those you lave. If you didn't know who you lave and you don't know who to start with yourself. Yins and yangs, I do invite you to continue this conversation among yourselves and even into the elaborate feast that follows. Now, let's start this evening, shall we? All guests hold up their plasma containers in recognition of seeing themselves in what Apollo created through his emotional elevation. Stay open with curiosity as we celebrate peace and unity tonight with trust and affinity. May we all radiate our Sonder lights, here to life with lave in our universe. Here's to self-discovery. Cassiopeia releases a whimsical sigh as unanimous cheers and clicks begin. Apollo slides back, creating an illusion as if the curtain engulfs him. Behind the scenes, an unexpected greeting. Well, lad, Arian's voice is detected, an enlightening performance given with such ease. Apollo hears a smile linger on the tail end of the comment. He turns around, beaming with sincerity and wisdom. I found my lost word, and the lave of my universe. Arian smiles. You know, we've been thinking about expanding the United Network. Never thought of considering the universe as a nation. Perhaps we should revive this in another place. Click.